of what we just talked about last week, yes? So if it's your first time coming with us, I'm going to give you a little quick recap so this is obviously being December, and we're talking about putting your vision together for your life and how you put your vision together and how you actually implement it and make it a reality. So we have a 4-session series. It's supposed to be an hour. Now we got 20 minutes. I blame myself, but let's go in here. So, got a lot of goodies. This is only for those of you guys who want to change your life. Everybody else, we'll see you later. So we talked about this first part, and I do know that we have some guests on. So if you guys need to leave, you're more than welcome. But we're gonna jump in and start this process. We talked about definition of vision. Let's start right here. And we said, what are the things that needs to be? So just a little quick recap, what we need to make a vision reality, and what does a vision need to have, okay? So one of these things was, let me put this up again, is to be clear on the vision, okay? And then I'm gonna give you all the questions. By the way, a lot of you guys, I said, look, if you want the PowerPoint, which I'm going to tell you right now, I said, message me on Instagram. And a lot of you guys text me, and I did not send it to you, okay? Because I'm not going to send this. My assistant, and I told my assistant to go look at it, okay? If I wanted to send this to all of you guys right now, it would take me forever, okay? So a powerful vision is easy to understand, and if people cannot repeat it, they can't follow it. Remember, I'm going to go through this fast since we talked about this. I want to spend most of our time on the question. If it's confusing, it's not compelling. Yes? Number 2, it needs to be inspiring and emotional. A real vision moves people emotionally, not just logically. It creates desire. It wakes people up. It makes sacrifices feel worth it. Yes? Okay. Number 3, it's aligned with your core values. A powerful vision must match who you are, not just what looks impressive. If it violates your values, you will abandon them under pressure. Okay? Number 4, it's got to be bigger than you. The strongest visions go beyond personal comfort and include family, team, community, and legacy. Also impact. Number 5, believable but bold. It should stretch you without breaking belief. In other words, there's a stretch, but I still believe it. Too small, no motivation. Too unrealistic, no conviction. And the sweet spot is what? Right in the middle. I can grow into this. Number 6 is identity driven. Okay, we're going to talk a lot about identity today. A powerful vision is tied to who you must become, not just what you want to have. I love this part so much. I don't know why. Okay. the stronger the identity shift, the stronger the vision. Number 7, decision / guiding. A real vision filters decisions. What to say yes to, what to say no to. Okay. I'm about to give you the question. So be ready to answer some questions. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time to actually answer these questions, okay? We're going to be almost there. Where to spend your time, money, and energy. Number 8, it needs to be repeatable and what? Shareable. If your team can't repeat it, it cannot multiply. By the way, if you don't have a team, your vision is way too small. If you can achieve all your dreams by you, I learned it early on with one of my mentors named John Maxwell. If you can achieve all your visions by you and just you, it only means your vision is way too small. Okay? So, a vision that can be spoken and can be scaled. Number 9, it needs to be written and it must be seen by you on a daily basis. Unwritten visions fade. Written vision pulls you forward daily. Okay, now, that's just a little quick recap from last week. Now we're going to get into it and get started on this. Cool? Okay. So let's talk about questions. You ready? I'm going to give you some time to answer these questions. So first of all, first up is we want to talk about future, the end of it. How does the end look like? So here's the question. First, if everything worked out perfectly, and hopefully you worked out on this last week before you come in here. If everything worked out perfectly, what would my life look like in 10 years? Okay? If everything worked out perfectly, what would my life look like in 10 years? How many guys actually thought about this a little bit? Okay? I'm still going to give you time. So at least write down the question. Okay? Number 2, where do I live? If money wasn't an issue, where would you live? How would your house look like? How would everything look like? Which is so crazy because I woke up this morning and I was just thinking about this. I'm like, this is crazy how all the stuff that we think about, our life ultimately becomes exactly that. So think about it. What city, where, what does a perfect day in my life look like? This is my favorite exercise. Your perfect day. So a perfect day is a day that you can live every single day, over and over and over and over. It's not like the day you go skydiving. You follow what I'm saying? It's not like, yeah, I'm in Japan, that's not a perfect day. A perfect day is a day that you can live every day. Okay? So what time you wake up, what sound you wake up, how does it feel? Like I literally had my perfect day vision this morning. I always had this vision that I'm in bed and playing with the kids and everything, and with the view of water and everything else. And it was just so cool this morning. I was very emotional about it because it was perfect. This was exactly in my dreams before. So, and how does your morning looks like? What are you having for breakfast? Who's at breakfast? Who's cooking the food? If you like cooking. I don't like cooking, so I need somebody else to cook. You follow? So you put all of that stuff, okay? I always like it when people wash dishes together and they actually enjoy it. So, and it's like, hey, this is our quality time. No, you're broke, okay? If you wash dishes together and that's your quality time, let's just be very clear. You're broke, okay? Let's just have clarity on one thing. So become very clear on your perfect life. What kind of income do I need to have? So now, very important as we do this, I do not want you to think about the vehicle you're going to use to get there. So the mistake people make, they choose the business before they pick the life. Remember we talked about this last week? Pick the life first, then we go choose a business. Okay? Because then you're trying to fit everything in your business. Okay? Because you have a passion for it, let's say. That's not the right reason to stay in a business, by the way. Okay? You can have passion for anything you get good at. Okay? I want you to pick something you absolutely hate. If you become good at it, that will be your passion. Just so you know, I had a personal experience with this. I hated math all my life. And then my teacher said, hey, isn't it true that you have to pass this? I said, yes. He's like, why don't you say, I love it? So I kept saying, I love it, I love it, I love it. I started getting better in grades. I started getting recognized. Then I started becoming more good and more good. Then I came to US and I didn't speak English, so I could only take math classes. So I started taking math classes, then I started taking calculus classes and differential equation, and I started getting A+. I got 105 on a test. I got all the extra credits right. And then I was like, man, math is my passion. I remember this, people's like, I love math, dude. Math is my thing. I was like, really? So it is so true. Okay, I learned this early on. Passion is very important. But in business, you got to you pick something where there's a need for. You follow? Warren Buffett said, wherever's your passion, you do it as a hobby. Okay? Whatever there's a need for, you do it as a business. Okay? Then you can become good at certain things that ultimately becomes passionate for you in that thing. Does that make sense? Like, how many guys understand teaching about money and building in financial services never was my passion? You understand what I'm saying? I never woke up one day and be like, man, building a financial services company, that's the thing I want to do. Said no one. Okay, maybe said somebody, but I didn't. Okay? So I just wanted to have a certain lifestyle, but I knew there was a lot of need for 10% 3 rules, 3 goals. I knew that there was a lot of need for entrepreneurship, for multi-handed income, for people to have businesses that could run based on a system. Almost every person you know who have a business, they're self-employed. So is there a massive need to teach people how to have a system-driven multi-handed business? And then I saw how there was a massive need for self-improvement. Anytime I went to a self-improvement event, I saw the same people. Then I saw like new people almost never go to any kind of self-improvement event. It's almost insane for them. Like, are you kidding me? Spend money, 3 days, go to a different state to learn? No, man, I don't have time for this. Right? And they were all single-handed. So I found how much need there was for what? Multi-handed. So look, you guys, what we do is so much need for. Do people need multi-handed income? Do they need to learn 10% to the rules? Yes. Do they need to, is self-improvement a big part? Yes. Most people who start a business never learn leadership. How insane would be to want to start a business, not ever learn about leadership? Yeah. How crazy is that? Is this really a business if you're not leading? No, you're self-employed. If people follow you because you pay them, that's not leadership. And they're going to leave anyway at some point when somebody else pays them a little bit more money. It's crazy to not learn leadership. How crazy it is to not learn sales. Do you guys know any business who doesn't sell anything? Nope. Even nonprofits sell something. Yes or no? So that's why self-improvement. So I knew there was a lot of need for it. I don't know how I went there, but I went there. So I'm going to go back to my question. Okay. All right. What do people know me for? Okay. You're good? Let me go to, what have I built that still exists without me? I love that question. What have I built that still exists without me? Is that a cool thing to think about when you're building this legacy or building this business, let's just say? Because if there is big enough income for the lifestyle that you want, the answer is always what? A system-driven, multi-handed business, okay? And you want it to exist when you're gone, okay? So these are some good questions for you to think about. Number 2, ooh, okay, now let's go identity, baby. Let's go. Who must I become? Here we go. Okay, so here we go. First one. Vision is not just what you get, it's who you become. How many guys heard this? It's never about the goal, it's about the journey. But that is so true. It's so true. We're going to talk about this in a second. Okay, so who must I become to live that future? That future life I want, who do I need to become? See, you never attract the right spouse. You become the right person and the right spouse comes to you, for those of you guys who are single. Okay? So, just remember, who must I become to live that future? Okay? Just body. How does my body look like? How do I dress? How do I look like? How do I speak? How do I talk? All of those things. We're going to talk about this one big time. What habits must this future version of me have? Okay? I'm going to talk about this on the back end. It's never about your goals, by the way. It's about habits that you have to get you to that goal. If I were to ask you right now, how many of you guys, the current habit that you have will get you to the goal you want? For majority of people, guess what? The answer is what? Nope. Okay, and then they're going to do it, and then they set another goal for New Year. Dude, what are you doing? What do you mean another goal? You have the same habit, so I'm going to show you how you change them on the back end, okay? So, but right now, just talk about what habits must I have to be this future person. What does that version of me think differently than I do now? That person who has a certain net worth or they have this kind of life, okay? By the way, I learned this, Bob Proctor said, most people never think. You know, we think during the day, you don't. How many guys you see when you think about this stuff, you're like, shoot, I got to think about this one. That's called thinking. This is why 95% of our thoughts are the same every single day. Joe Dispenza talks about this all the time. Is because we actually don't think. Thinking would be this. How does that version of me think differently? And then you're like, shoot, I have to think about this. See, most of you guys are going to be like, yeah, great training, and then you're gone. But this stuff, you actually need maybe a day to be like, okay, let me just answer some of these questions. Okay? What does that version of me no longer tolerates? Ooh, that's a good one. What's the thing that you tolerate right now? Here it goes. Write it down. If you don't hate it, you tolerate it. Some people don't hate having a boss. So therefore they tolerate having a boss. You have to understand, I hated having a boss. I hated somebody tell me what to do. You follow what I'm saying? So I hated it. So if you don't hate it, you tolerate it. What's the thing you don't hate? Maybe you don't hate the fact that you go to a restaurant and you have to look at the price before you order. Maybe you need to let it bother you a little bit. What's the thing? Maybe you don't hate it when your kids ask you for something and then you can't give it to them. Maybe you don't hate it when your wife says, hey, I want this, and then you cannot do it. And you don't let it bother you. Let it bother you a little bit, yes? Okay. And by the way, the key thing about changing identity, once you identify this thing, by the way, this is why it's so important. This event we have in January 16, 17, 18. Friday, we start at 1 p.m. We finish at 2 p.m. on Sunday. By the way, the deadline for registration is next Saturday. When is the deadline? Somebody put in the chat. What's the deadline? Don't tell me I couldn't get a ticket after next Saturday, okay? And, we're not in the business of throwing events. Yes, we don't make money throwing events. Our events are like $150. Okay, we lose money throwing the events. But we know if people don't pay, they don't show up anyway, right? I remember we were talking and he's like, how much is it? I'm like, $150. Like, no way, how could that be possible? I say, look, it's not, because we're not in that business, but we know if our people want to become successful, they need this. Because remember, in order for you to clear this, once you figure out this identity thing, listen to me, the only way you can change your identity, you need information, which we're going to get the information right here, okay? You're going to write down, hey, I want to become this person. But that's not going to make you that person. You need to have a lot of emotion attached to that data. You follow? In other words, how many of you guys remember where you were at 9/11? Anybody? Almost all of you guys remember exactly where you were at 9/11. But if I were to tell you where were you at 9/11 in 1996 or 1999, you do not have a clue. Yes or no? How come you don't know? Because there was not enough emotion attached to that moment. Yes? Okay. So when emotion attached to something, we tend to remember it. Okay? So this is why it's so important to go outside of your comfort zone where you spend money. You got on an airplane. You go to a different city. So you break your pattern habits. You're somewhere else. You sacrifice. And whatever reason you don't think you can go is exactly why you got to go. If you don't have the money to get the plane tickets, guess what your goal is? To make money. But guess what's going to stop you from going there? Making the money. See, this is why change is so hard, because whatever it is we want is the same exact thing that stops us from getting it. People all the time tell me, I want to make more money. I say, well, go to this event. So, well, I don't have the money to go. I say, yeah, exactly. It's like people say, hey, what do you want more than anything else? I want to have time freedom. Okay, go to this event. Well, I really can't take a day off. I say, exactly. So you have to do it with understanding. This is why change is so hard. How many guys understand? Okay? But a true identity change happens when you get out of your environment for 2-3 days and there's an emotional attachment. Okay? Where you get to the point where you're like, I hate this. I'm never going to do this. I'm sick and tired of this. Yes? Until that thing doesn't happen, you're not going to change. Anybody know what I'm talking about? So if you ever change the habit, you know that happens. Okay? Maybe you were overweight. Maybe you smoked. Maybe you drank. And maybe one time you had way too much drinking. Okay, and then everything you ate came up somehow, right? And then you're like, never drinking ever again, right? So it's but guess what? You had an emotional experience, right? Then you're like, no longer I am doing this, okay? So changing identity has everything to do with getting out of normal environment, okay? Just so you know. Okay, number 3, impact and purpose. I need to go a few more minutes. Okay, here we go. Who benefits if I win? I love this question. I love this question. Think about this. Who benefits if I win? Who suffers if I quit? Ooh, how juicy is that question? Who suffers if I quit? How does my success change my family? You guys spend some time answering these, Nick. How does my success change my community? Okay. Look, you got to make self-improvement a basic process of your life, okay? It needs to be a norm. That's our mission. This is why it's so important that at least 3-4 times a year, you get out of your normal environment, you go someplace else. This is why conventions are so important. Everybody with me? Okay. What problems am I helping solve in the world? Okay. Number 4, let's talk about values. What values will I never violate to achieve my vision? Is that a good question? What values will I never violate to achieve my vision? I really like that one. Okay. What does success not look like to me? What do I refuse to sacrifice even for money? These are some goody questions. Okay. Okay. Beliefs. Coming back to the big events again. Do I truly believe this future is possible for me? See, a lot of times, if I do this with people where they do this, but they don't really believe. Okay? That's why big events are so important. If I don't fully believe it yet, what would help me believe it? What would help me believe it? Look, environment is the most important thing. It's the environment, you guys, is the most important thing. You give me somebody who has a 6-pack and you put it in the house with everybody who got a 1-pack, that person with the 6-packs will eventually get a 1-pack. Okay? Because eventually those people want to go eat something or going to go to a restaurant and this guy is going with them, they're all friends. Eventually he's going to give in. You follow? So if there's one thing you got to be protective of is your environment. This is why I'm a big believer. My life today is completely a byproduct of the environment. This is why I knew big events are so important, especially when I don't want to go to them. Because when I don't want to go to them, that means I need them. That one simple idea changed my life. I've never missed these conventions. Every year, 3-4 times a year. And that's been, because I knew that was the environment. I needed to hang out with people who think multi-handed. I needed to hang out with people who were positive and had leadership, because my regular life didn't have any of it. How many guys know what I'm talking about? In my regular life, I didn't have somebody who was making $1 million, $2, $5, $10 million bucks passive income. Okay? I didn't have anybody who was studying leadership on a daily basis. So I had to go to those environments that people did, and that became my family. Okay? Number 6, decision filter. So, what will I now say yes to because of this vision? So once you put it together, what will I say yes to? What will I say yes to? What will I now say no to? because of this vision. See, this is where I became clear. What must change immediately in my daily routine? Okay, I'm going through it fast for the sake of time. Number 6, decision filter. A real vision guides daily choices. Here we go. 21. What will I now say? Did I do this? Okay. Let's see. Commitment. Am I willing to be uncomfortable for this vision? Is that a good one? You only grow when we do uncomfortable things. One of my goals every single day is to do something I don't like to do. Every day, I want to do something I don't like doing, or it's uncomfortable, whether it's a cold shower, whether it's talking to somebody I don't want to really talk to, whether it's just going outside my comfort zone and just whatever, okay? So, am I willing to be misunderstood while building it? And I'm telling you, if you're not going to get there. That is the number one sign you know you're on your path, is because other people don't get you. This is why you need the community. This is why you need the conventions. This is why you need an environment, because you go to a place where everybody's like, yes, this is it. And then you come back to your own people who are like, dude, you're crazy. You know how many people told me they're brainwashing you? I'm like, yeah, please brainwash me. I'm broke. I need brainwashing. Okay? So, number 26, am I willing to stay committed even if it takes longer than planned? Ooh, see, some of you guys give a timeline to your dreams. If it doesn't happen in the next 5 years, I remember somebody was in Val's team, and they told him, yeah, I tried it for 2 months, and it didn't work out, and I didn't make money. So I don't think this is for me. And I was just cracking up. It's like at a 2-month time period. So, and you know, one of the things, that slight edge that I had versus everybody else, for me, was I didn't have a deadline. I said, I'm either dying or I'm making it happen. Most people had a deadline. Okay. So here's some final questions to wrap this up. Okay. What am I building? Who am I becoming? This is the summary of it. Who am I doing this for? Why must this happen? Are these good? Man, you should write a bunch of stuff on this. What am I building? The vision. Who am I becoming? The person. Who am I doing this for? My reason and my why. And why must this happen? And you give it a little bit more detail. So look at this. It's one of my favorite sayings. It says, vision is not something you find. It's something you decide. Most people don't take the time to decide the life they want to have. Okay? So, once you do this, you got to ask these questions, which I asked you earlier. It says, can my current habits give me to my future goals? And I can almost guarantee you, what? The answer is no. So, you do need goals, but goals are not the important one. See, next week, we're going to show you how you take this vision that you brought up and turn it to goals. But I want you to think about this before you come next week, because the goals don't really matter. Some of you guys are like, Connor's like, I want to build a $10 million company. I say, well, it doesn't really matter. Okay? What does matter are the habits. So understand this. Goals are your outcome that you want to achieve. System is about the process of getting there. So what you really need is a system that supports you daily. In other words, system is a collection of daily habits. So whatever is my vision is, whatever my goal is, I need to have a system that helps me get there. You follow? So what your goal should be is the system, not the goal. How many guys got it? You see, so let's just say I wanted to lose weight. See, the problem with goals are like, I want to lose 10 pounds. Well, that's a wrong goal. The goal is to have what kind of subsystems you need to have, okay? Such as, for example, I'm going to sleep in my workout clothes. You follow? That's now a system. So when I wake up, I'm like, where you go? I guess I'm going to the gym, right? So what systems do you have that makes you to do the thing that you need to do? You follow? So, and here's the things that are important, okay? First of all, as you're creating these habits, there's 3 questions I'm going to tell you. There's a lot of thinking that goes behind this. What can I stick to even in a bad day? So let's say your goal was to go to, I don't know, to, let's just say, read your business plan. Let's just say your goal is to read your vision. But what if there's a day you're tired, it's late, and you didn't have time? See, you need to make it, so many of you guys make your goals or these habits that I must do this big thing, and then you constantly always fall short from it. Yes? But it's the exact opposite. You need to make it so small that in the worst condition can you do it. So for me, it was like, okay, I can record my business plan, me doing my business plan, my vision. My worst case scenario, even if I'm dead and tired and I'm not at home, I can play it and just listen to it on my headphone. You follow? Because that would be like the easiest, right? So in my worst case scenario, I can still do the thing that I'm supposed to do. How many guys understand what I'm saying? Okay? I hope this is making sense to you. How can I prime the environment to make the first action easy? Okay? So in other words, whatever the habit is, how do you prime it? Priming means, for example, it was just basically just kind of like wearing your clothes thing that I was telling you that would be priming your environment. You guys understand now what I'm talking about? So how does the environment needs to be? So in other words, for example, let's just say your goal is to lose weight, is to make sure you have no unhealthy food at home. You follow? So don't ever come to our home. Okay? Because we have every unhealthy food in the entire planet in our home. Okay? Because my wife likes it and I go with it, right? But it would have been a lot easier for me, okay, if she also liked being healthy, right? So, but anyway, so but that's fine, right? I'm gonna do it anyway. But for you, if you can, you just gotta make sure you have no ice cream, for example, at the house. So if you ever wanted to ice cream, you have to go and get it. You follow? So this is very important to prime your environment for the goal that you want to have. That you have your vision. Like imagine you walk into your bedroom, okay, and there's somebody you're competing with. Let's just say. Like I like the picture of the person I'm competing with, and I like to have the picture of the people that I'm doing it for. Okay? So for example, when I walk into my closet and it's time to read the business plan, then I'm really tired and I see the picture of the competitor, I'm like, screw this thing, I'm a freaking, or the people that I love, right? So I condition the environment, you follow? That allows me to do the thing I need to do anyway. This is what that means, okay? And lastly, what can I do to make it fun? And this is the last one, I'm gonna close it out. Because if it's not fun, you're not gonna do it, okay? If it's not fun, you're not gonna do it. So let's just say you like chocolate, dark chocolate. You take one piece of dark chocolate, and then you say, hey, if I pre-plan my next day, I can have a piece of chocolate. You understand what I'm saying? Or like, for example, if I track, for me, I'm just telling you, if I track my macros for 7 days, I can have a cheat meal. You with me? I love cheat meals. So cool, right? So if I track my meals for 7 days, I can have a cheat meal. So now I'm having fun with it, right? You guys understand? So it must be fun. And I'm telling you this, you can never compete with someone who's having fun doing their daily routines. Because they're having fun doing it, and it's something that you're trying to discipline yourself to do. So anyway, you guys, thanks for sticking around a lot longer. I appreciate you guys. Hope you learned a lot. And